Everyone, what we're going to do is we're going to start here at the computer, and this is where we're going to actually create our design, excuse me, for the ornament. So what we first want to go ahead and do is we want to find a good font for our ornament. You can do this any way that you would like. You can create it, with any type of font that you would like, whatever you think would work best for you. For me, with my ornament, I wanted to do the misses and then of course the white over top of it because that will be her new last name. So what we'll do is we're going to go to dafont.com, which is my favorite website to actually find fonts from. And the way that I found my font for actually the background of the Mrs. portion was right under the sans serif fonts. That's where I find my favorite fonts to use for the backgrounds because they're just very simple, very easy to read fonts. So once you find the font that you want, and we'll go ahead and we'll pick Big Noodle Tiling. The actual font that I used for this was the BEBAS New, I believe is how you would say it. So what I'll do, and since I've already downloaded that, I want to download this one. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit download. And since I'm using Google Chrome, my download comes down right here, and then I'll click on it once it's done. It'll open it up for me. I'll double click. I'll click install, and it is installed into my system. And that font will be good to go. Now, where I found the font for the handwriting over top is I go in the same spot up here, and I just go to, or not the same spot, but the same area up here, and I just go into handwritten. And there's quite a few handwritten fonts, obviously, here. You can pick, whichever one that you like, whichever one that you think would be best. For mine, I chose, it's actually called Halo Hand Letter. But again, you can pick whichever one that you would like. So once we're done with that, we'll click out of the computer. Oh, oops, I better get my computer plugged in. We'll actually click out of our fonts and we'll go ahead and we'll go into our canvas. All right, now that we're in our canvas, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start creating this text that we're going to cut out of the vinyl. So what I did beforehand, and I'll actually show you this little trick while I'm applying this in the next segment to the ornament, is you want to take a piece of string and you want to take it and you want to put it at the top of your ornament and come all the way down, and that's how you'll figure out your sizing. For mine, my sizing I found was about 5.5, was as large as I could make my misses. So what we'll do is we'll first go ahead and add text. And we're going to add the text, and first what we want is we want the Mrs. Text. So what we'll do is we'll go over here to our edit, and we'll grab our font that we want to use. I always write down all of my fonts whenever I actually download them, and keep myself a little note of the fonts, as well as print most of them out and put them in a binder. Only because I always forget what fonts are. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll notice that I forget my fonts all the time. So it's gotten a lot better because I have started writing them down. But the first one is this BEBAS New, I believe is what we'll call it. And what we want is we want this to be 5.5 inches high. So we'll go down to our size here, make sure we have it selected, and go to our height at 5.5. And that is the size that we want for our misses on the front of our ornament here. So now what we want is we want the white, the name white, to go over top of this. So we'll go ahead and we'll add text again, and we'll type in the white, the white sentiment. And what we want to do is go back to edit, of course, and we want to pick our Halo Hand Letter. which is the font for our white. So while I'm searching for this, what I do want to review is that if you do install your fonts, it is very important that once you install your fonts, if you do want to use them in Design Space and you already have Design Space open, you want to make sure that you reload, hit the reload button for your Design Space so that it opens up the fonts. That's a question that I do have a lot, and I want to make sure that I make that clear for everybody. So you want to reload, and then the fonts will be loaded in. So now what we'll do is we'll make this as big as we want to go over top of the misses. So that looks pretty good to me. But what I want to do, and I have reviewed this in an earlier video, but we'll show you here, I want those letters to be closer together. So what we do is we go down to our letter spacing here, and let's try this at like a 5 and hit enter and see if that makes it closer together for us. And it makes it a little bit closer together. I like that better, but I want it to be even closer. So let's do maybe like a 4. And that looks good to me. So we'll go ahead and we will have our white sentiment here, and I want to make that maybe just a little bit bigger, and we have that on there for us. So what I'll do is I'm going to change the color. I'm going to go to our layers tool and change the color of the white sentiment to like a, we'll just do candy crystal, because we do want this to be a different layer of vinyl that we're cutting out, so we do want to make sure we change that. And I'm also going to add in here 2014, because that is when she will become Mrs. White. So we'll add in the 2014, and we will go ahead and we'll put this below here, and we'll just size that to what we think looks best. I want to make this in the same font as the Mrs. So we'll click on it, we'll go up to edit, and we'll just type it, we'll just look for that font again, which is the BEBAS. I know everybody's probably laughing at me as I'm trying to say that, but I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but we do want to do just a simple font for this here. We'll take a look and see, you know, what we think looks best. That looks good to me, and I think that that is actually perfect. Now, one thing that I do want to do is we'll keep this little dot in here because I think that that's actually fine there. But I probably won't use that dot, because what I want to do is I want to use a snowflake, because she's getting married during the winter months. So let's look up a snowflake, and we'll use that snowflake instead of the period there at the end. So let's look for a snowflake, and we'll pick out one that we think is best. So let's see here. I really like this snowflake here. So let's go ahead and we will click on that snowflake. We'll hit Insert Images. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that this is the same size as that period there. So let's bring this down and kind of, let's take a look. Yep, that looks about the right size for me for that Mrs. So we'll go ahead and we'll make sure that that is cut out of the same color as the Mrs. portion, because Mrs. we're doing in white, and then the white portion we're doing in like a turquoise color. So let's go ahead and we'll make this 2014. Let's make that a cream, so we know that. The Mrs. will turn into a cream, so that we know that that's going to be that color. And the snowflake, of course, we will put as a cream color as well, so we know that that is the color that that's being cut out. So now all we'll do is we'll hit go, and it's going to actually put everything on the mat exactly how it is going to be cut out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out these sentiments, these words and everything, and we'll go ahead and we'll jump over to the workspace, and I'll show you how to put all of this together. See you in a minute. All right, everyone, we are now here at my workstation, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to go ahead and apply this to the ornament. First, before I go ahead and start weeding and taking all of this stuff off of here, I want to show you on my ornament what I did to actually figure out the sizing. So what I did was I took the ornament. I'm actually using this terrifically tacky tape from Cricut to hold my ornament here, and I took a piece of just regular everyday baker's twine, and I took it and I put it up here at the top and brought it down, and I made this, held this about as big as I wanted it to be. And then what I did was I brought it to my cutting mat or a ruler, whatever you want to use, and I figured out how big I wanted my letters to be. And in this case it was 4 inches. I actually brought them down in size just a little bit because I wanted to be able to do a little something fun inside of the ornament as well, and you'll see that in one moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to weed this out. I know that I've showed weeding before in some of the videos, but of course I think that it's very important to review weeding things out because it is something that's tricky for a lot of individuals, but I want to show it as much as I can so we can review. Now, this tool that I used here is just a rotary tool that generally is purchased and used for fabric. I use it all the time with my vinyl because I do a lot of vinyl work, so I purchased it and that's how I use it. So you can use it however you would like. They sell additional blades, rotary blades for it, so you can replace it once it starts getting dull. So what we're going to do is we're going to start our weeding process. Again, I've done this a bunch of times. You just want to go ahead and you want to pull back the vinyl from the cutout pieces. You want to make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to. Now, this is new vinyl that I'm using today. It's not my usual vinyl. Usually I use the Paper Studio brand. This is actually an Oracle brand, so it's a little bit trickier, only because if this sticks to another piece, it is very, very, very difficult to get it off. So what we're doing is we're just going ahead, we're weeding out these pieces, and I know that you probably can't see this because it's kind of far away from you guys to get the whole space, but look, I'll bring this up a little bit and hopefully you can see it now. Look at that snowflake. How beautiful it cut that snowflake out. It just always, it's every day that I do something with vinyl, which has become pretty much daily with making things. It never ceases to amaze me how intricate it cuts these pieces of vinyl out. It's just absolutely amazing how it cut out and how small, you know, these pieces are that are being cut out of this snowflake. So I apologize, I had to get over top of this so you may see the top of my head. But I do want to make sure that I get all of these little tiny pieces out of that snowflake. We can remove this period because we're not going to use that, and we'll dispose of our garbage. So here we go. We have everything that misses 2014 and the snowflake, and down here we'll just weed this out very quickly. We have the name White because that is what is going to be her new last name. So let's go ahead and we'll weed out this center part of the W. We'll weed out this part right here of the H, and we'll also weed out this portion of the E. So we have all of that there, and we are good to go. So now what we're going to do, and I do love this new Cricut tool. I wanted to show that very quickly. This is the new weeding tool that comes with their tool set. I love it because it is a little bit easier to grip than the smaller one. I don't have my other one around, trying to believe, or I'd show you, but it's a great new tool that comes in their tool set. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, this is a piece actually that it's a piece of that Magic cover that I use all the time from the Dollar Tree. They actually sell it online now. It's great. You can get it in a ton, excuse me, not in a ton, but a ton. You can get it in a bulk box now. And what I did with this is, because this Oracle, I've noticed actually it's a little bit temperamental with this cover because it is an outdoor, so it kind of really sticks. So I wanted to, what I did was I went ahead and rubbed it on my hands. I did a little bit on my shirt as well, so that it's not as super sticky. Now it's still going to bring up obviously our Mrs. word here, but it's not going to stick to it as much once we get it onto the ornament. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring over our ornament here, and we're going to place this on here. One trick that I want to show everyone is we want to go ahead and we want to take our scissors. These are probably not the best scissors to use right now because they are pink and you probably cannot see them on the mat. But let's see, where do I have, I don't see my blue pair anywhere. But what you want to do is you just want to cut down here so that this has a little bit of give whenever we're going over a curved object. That is the trick that I have always used when doing something super curved like this, so that it's able to move with what you're placing on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is right where we want it to be, and we'll place the R on first, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to push this down. And again, because we made those cuts in between, this R is able to go down on its own and we are not having any trouble with placement because it is, that's the word I'm looking for, it is able to kind of move a little bit more. If we kept this this knot cut out, we would have a lot more trouble getting this R to be placed on here, if that makes sense. Because since this is cut here and split, we're able to maneuver our individual letters a little bit easier. I think that's a big problem that a lot of individuals run into when they're doing things like this, is that since the letters are all connected together, we still want to keep them connected together so that they go into the right placement on here. But I think that's a big problem that a lot of people run into, is because the fact that they keep all of this together, or not cut at least, it's very difficult to make sure that these pieces move into the exact areas that they should be. They need a little bit of movement, or else, you know, obviously it's not going to go to, you know, where it should be in the placement of the other letters. So what I'm doing is I'm just continuing to burnish down. You want to make sure that you're being very, very careful, because obviously these ornaments are extremely fragile. Now in the S here, I do have quite a substantial bump that is not going to come out, just because of the way that I placed that down, and we're not going to be able to pull that up now because, again, this is outdoor vinyl, so it's really, really going to stick on there. So what I'll do is I'll show you a little trick for that. We're just full of vinyl tricks today, and I'll show you how to get those kind of bumps and bruises out. So we want to pull up this M, and we really want to get that down to the best placement for it, so that it does go and we don't have a ton of bumps on it. So what we do is we just want to kind of lift and pull and move everything around to make sure that it is going into the exact spot that we want it to be. Because with the main goal here, and the goal obviously with all vinyl, is to make sure that we get as little amount of those bumps and those kind of creases as we can. Now there are some times that we're going to run into where we cannot completely avoid them. So what we want to do is we want to try to do our best to keep them at a minimum, only because once you get them in there, it's kind of tricky to get them out on a couple of different surfaces, but it is not completely impossible. So what we want to do is we want to come in here with the corner of our burnishing tool. Again, this is the Cricut burnishing tool. I do love this burnishing tool because it does have a very precise corner here, so that it helps me go ahead and burnish all of this down. Again, as you can see here, we are getting a lot of these creases out that I thought were not going to be able to be removed, and we'll go ahead now and we will lift off our transfer paper. Again, this can be whatever type of transfer paper you prefer. Cricut does make a fantastic transfer paper. I just have not really had a ton of luck with their transfer paper, only because it's great, it does transfer, but I am not able to see through it. It's not as see-through as these contact papers are. So I tend to use the contact papers because it's easier for me to see through whenever I'm putting my final image on here. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull all of this up here, and we have our misters on there. And that looks pretty good to me. So we just want to make sure that everything is smoothed out here. We have as much smoothed as we possibly can with our tools here. So we're just smoothing and getting rid of as many bumps as we can along the way. Again, some bumps are okay because I'm going to show you a little trick here, but we don't want a ton of bumps on our finished project because then it doesn't look as professional. What we're going for here is kind of something that you would see on a lot of those crafting websites that are sold for buku bucks, but we want to be able to do that at at home, obviously, now that we have our Cricut Explore. So as you can see, the misses has been placed on there. And now what we want to do is I'm going to take actually my heat tool. And what I'm going to do with this heat tool, and I'm going to tell you this real quick before I get it started, because obviously once I get this heat tool started, you're not going to be able to hear me. I'm going to go over these areas that have a couple of little bumps in them, and I'm going to smooth them out. And we'll just go ahead and do that now. Okay, now that we have this good and heated, you want to go ahead and you want to be very careful because this glass is going to get very hot. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go over it very quickly with our finger. And what that does is that actually gives us a chance to melt down some of the glue that is underneath that's keeping everything really, really, really stuck in place. And then once we get all of this melted down a little bit underneath, it actually kind of a little, seems like it kind of melts everything just a little tiny bit. And since it's melting everything kind of falls into place. So now we have our misses on here, good to go, and we're ready to move on to our next step. Now, I do have two little air bubbles here that I'm going to just poke and kind of push out because they unfortunately did not push out with the heat gun, so we'll push those out there a little bit. Again, this does not have to be 100% perfect because this is a craft, and that's what crafting is all about. Nothing is ever 100% perfect with crafting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our white sentiment on here. I am going to use a piece of our contact paper again that we have here. Make sure that it's the right size, and we'll cut this out here. And what I'm going to do again with this piece, because this is a brand new piece, is I do want to go ahead and I want to get it to, I say condition it. It's kind of what I say, what I use for the term whenever I am doing conditioning, quote unquote, my mats, because the Cricut mats, when you first get them, they're very, very sticky, and you want to make sure that you get a little bit of that stickiness, at least in my opinion, off, so that it is not tearing up and ripping up your paper whenever you first use it. So again, this is something that's completely up to you. It's however you want to do it, whatever is the easiest way for you. Now what I'm going to do here is I want my T to be a little bit closer. So in that case, because this font is not a Cricut font, it's a font that I got online. Because of that, there's no way to get that T and the I together without kind of separating the so what I'm looking for, without separating the what's the word I'm looking for, without separating the word, I guess you could say. There's no way for me to do that. So instead of separating the word and making that more difficult for myself than it needed to be, what I did was I just cut that there so that we could go ahead and place this on here the way that we want it to look. So there we go. We have the W, H, and I on there. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to smooth that out the best that we can. Smooth, smooth, smooth. I've also noticed as well that with this, and this is just going to be a tip as I'm doing it, with the metallic vinyl, you see a lot more of the boo-boos. And I'm learning this as I'm going, again, like I said, because when I do my videos, I'm doing them generally for the first time. I come up with the idea, and unless I'm doing something actually in Design Space where I'm teaching you, I do it right here live for you. So the metallic, I don't know if I would suggest the metallic on something like this. It looks all right on mine, but it's not very forgiving. You do see kind of every bump and every every little bruising and crease underneath of it. So let's go ahead and we'll get this part adhered on here. Whoops, let me use my burnishing tool, get this on, then go ahead and get the T and the E on. Whoops, this one little part does not want to stay. There we go. Okay, so we have that on, and so we have the misses and then the white, and then now what we're going to do is we're going to add our snowflake, our darling little tiny snowflake. We'll pull that up, and we're going to place that after the misses, because I just think that that's super cute to use that instead of the period. So let's go ahead and we will burnish that down, super easy. How cute is that? And then we want the 2014, which I'm not sure actually the placement of my 2014. I think I'm going to put it on the back here, because I think that that will look, oh, you can't see what I'm doing here. I think that that will look good on the back portion. So let's burnish this down, make sure that we have all of our numbers, and let's get this mat out of the way because we don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and we'll just place this on the back here. And since these are smaller numbers, we're not going to have to do anything with the cutting or anything like that. The smaller the numbers or the smaller the letters, the easier it's going to be to put everything down. So let's go ahead and we will burnish all this down here, and let's go ahead and pull it up, and now we are stuck to the back. How cute is that? I just absolutely love it with the little snowflake and Mrs. White, and it's all on there for us. So now what we're going to do is I want to add snow inside of mine. Now, the one thing is, obviously I'm filming this video in the middle of July. So I can't find any fake snow anywhere, and I did not want to go into my Christmas decorations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this is just the regular tissue paper that you would buy to use for gift wrapping. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it down the edge here, obviously. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it again, just like so. We want to make sure that we get this into little tiny pieces. And we're just going to continue cutting so we have little pieces. And my idea here was to make it look as close to that fake snow as we get in the store as possible. So we're just going to keep on cutting and getting as many little pieces as we can. And once we get to the end here, we'll just go ahead and do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crinkle up these pieces. And as you can see, there's tons and tons of pieces that I'm getting from all of those little pieces that originally were just obviously one big piece. And as you can see, things unfortunately are moving around here because I forgot to turn my fan off. So obviously you don't want to have a fan on whenever you're doing this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all of this done as much as we can here, and we're just going to place it inside of our ornament. Oops. And we'll go ahead and get that in there, and then once you have all of this inside of here, you are actually complete. If you are doing, the snow inside, you can do whatever you would like inside. You can do confetti, you can really do whatever you would like with this. So once we get some of that snow in the bottom there, we're good to go, and then we will have our finished ornament. So I thank you so much for watching today, and if you have any questions, of course, go ahead and jot them down below, and you can also send me an email. Thanks, and have a great day.